Welcome to the Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Insightful and witty commentary, probing interviews, and detours from the beaten path.
Welcome to Monday Musings-Danny SportsWrap. It's presented by Dillon's Heating and Cooling, and there's no better place to go to make you feel better about something that usually is kind of an uncomfortable process, talking about your heating, talking about your cooling, maybe talking about the fact that your air conditioning broke down right on the hottest day of the year, or your heating broke down right on the coldest day of the year, which actually happened to us this past winter. But you can go see Jeff and his great crew. They'll treat you like family, which is part of their slogan. Dillon's Heating and Cooling. They bring you Monday Musings, Danny SportsWrap, each and every Monday. And I'll tell you what, it was quite a Sunday for me. A fun Sunday. Actually, it was kind of a fun weekend in total, even though it was gloomy weather-wise. But as I will mention probably a couple times, but I had a big workout in the morning, and sometimes if I've got some time and I've got some real content on the television down in my little workout room downstairs, I can really take it deep as far as a workout is concerned, and I did that because we had the Scottish Open going on and then a Wimbledon that was getting pretty compelling when it was supposed to be maybe a walkover, as eventually Novak Djokovic would become a 20-time major champion, but that was a fun match as well. It was part of a lot of fun that went on. Of course, we are going to have to deal with some stuff that's not so fun at the outset. Yes, indeed, the All-Star break and a time to assess the Kansas City Royals, and for, well, weeks now, that has been not a heck of a lot of fun. They do get a bit of a respite on Sunday as their game was rained out. We'll talk about that. Then in the afternoon, I settled down for Euro 2020. I often will consume my sports in the evening on a DVR, but I was going to take no chance that I found out the result of the Euro 2020 and actually wanted to set it up so that I could have a text duel with my sister in Massachusetts, and we went back and forth talking about the match that eventually went to Italy after 3 weeks of incredible drama over in Europe. And there's lots of other stuff to talk about as well. We can talk about other baseball notes. We can talk about the NBA, where another rout. There have been a lot of routs in the NBA playoffs this year, but it gave us a series as the Bucks, behind another 40-point performance by Giannis, get the victory and make it 2-1. So as of Wednesday, we'll have ourselves a 2-1 Suns advantage and an NBA Finals series. All that and a lot more. It's busy. It's mostly upbeat and fun. But then, of course, we have to start with the Royals, which we will do next, right here on Monday Musings, Danny SportsWrap, presented by Dillon's Heating and Cooling.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
Time to spend a few minutes with my good friend Jeff Dillon from Dillon's Heating and Cooling. And Jeff, what differentiates your company from others in the industry?
Plain and simple, we're honest. We have integrity, and we're going to do things right the first time. There's way too many companies out there that lie, cheat, hide things from the homeowner or customer, and we're not about that. It's kind of funny sometimes. I actually am so honest with some people, it kind of surprises them. But sometimes it's good for business, sometimes it's bad for business. But ultimately, it's the kind of business that I want to run, is an honest one.
And that family way of treating things is part of your slogan, and it's also part of one of your great features that you offer to customers.
Our slogan is like family. Our most popular maintenance plan is called the Family Plan. It's very similar to a lot of ones out there. The little tweak that we do to ours, 1% off for every 2 years. They have a continued maintenance plan with us. If they have a maintenance plan for 10 years, then we give them 5% off, no questions asked.
You can find out more about Dillon's Heating and Cooling and all their great range of services at dillon'sheatingandcooling.com. That's Dillon's with an S. The phone number, 913-214-1343. Cinematic Visions has been an affordable solution for professional media production in Kansas City since 2003, offering award-winning video production and creation, as well as a wide array of digital and social media management services. From planning, scripting, filming, editing, and post-production, to delivering your product to a watching world, Cinematic Visions will provide professional and affordable services for you and your business with the necessary return on investment to make it all worthwhile. Cinematic Vision's goal is to unlock the power of storytelling through video and a strong online presence for your company. Beyond the numbers, they want to inspire and evoke your clients to feel and act. Let my friends at Cinematic Visions embed your brand where it belongs, in your customers' minds. You can find them online at cinematicvisions.com or with a quick phone call at 816-600-6300. I'm here with Tim Emerson, the owner of Emerson & Company. And Tim, give us an idea of the range of services that you provide from Emerson & Company.
At Emerson & Company, we do credit card processing, payroll services. We do bookkeeping, merchant accounts like point-of-sale systems.
What would you say differentiates you from other companies in the field, and what makes you special?
I think what makes us unique is that we're a small local business making regional decisions on companies. We create a profile for the business and then put it out to our different vendors in a very competitive environment and tailor those needs to the specific business, which usually ends up in a great fit or great result for the company.
And, of course, the idea is to save money, right?
Save money, and actually sometimes I'm surprised where actually a solution that may cost a little bit more ultimately does save money, but we're not conditioned to think like that sometimes.
Emerson & Company. Check them out at emerson-co.com or call them at 816-360-9092. We're here with Michael Barber, the CEO and founder of Microlight Corporation of America, the world leaders in laser therapy. And Michael, tell us a little bit about your product.
Our device is using a particular wavelength and power to reduce pain and swelling. My background is surgical lasers, but I've been involved with this particular device now for about the last 20 years, actually.
And I know that it works because I've had it used on me as well. And tell us about the relationship you have with your company and Canaway.
It's what I call a strategic business relationship in that Canaway, the leader in the field of the cannabinoid systems and CBD oil, but our device used in conjunction with Canaway CBD oil gives a better pain relief outcome for the patient.
And if you want to get that pain relief outcome like I did, you can reach their local representative, Sherry McCants, at 515-208-6312. That's 515-208-6312. If you'd like to join these and other great sponsors and market your business to a growing and engaged audience, contact us at Danny@DannyKlingscale.com. Look forward to hearing from you. Welcome back, and we are at the All-Star break as far as baseball is concerned, and that's supposed to be a time of reflection, but as far as baseball around here is concerned, it's a time of dejection, to say the least. The Royals, mercifully, were rained out on Sunday. I don't think you could come up with much of a scenario that they were going to roll out there and win a game on Sunday. There were a lot of reasons why it probably was good they didn't play. They had lost their last 3 to the Cleveland Indians. They have lost 7. They've gone 7-27 in their last 34 games. Their misery indexes can be chosen by you wherever you want. Just figure out how far back in the calendar you want to go. Most evident in my mind is when they had last won 5 games in a row and moved themselves back 3 games under 500, seemingly had recovered from an 11-game losing streak, only to plummet to heretofore this year unseen depths with the 7-27 run. They're at or near the bottom in both pitching and hitting. Individually, there's not much to talk about either. Another good thing about them not playing on Sunday is that Salvador Perez, who has prided himself on playing every game this day, wasn't in the lineup, wasn't likely to play. He's got a tweaked back. How severe it is, it doesn't look particularly severe. The Royals fans may lose one of the few joys of the All-Star game they have, and the fact that Salvi was scheduled to be in the Home Run Derby. That certainly seems to be in peril now, and it really is just a very, very difficult time. The run-up to the All-Star game really did get bad enough that it is causing overall assessment of the entire baseball program, and you would think that it almost is getting to the point where even just for show, and Dayton Moore isn't much of a guy for just for show, that somebody's got to pay the price here, be it a hitting coach, a pitching coach, somebody released that you really kind of have affection for, like a Wade Davis or Urban Santana, who was out there again on Saturday to get his brains beat in. It really is just, well, it's depressing is what it is, and we got a lot of fun and interesting stories from the sports weekend to talk about. So I guess because this is the most local of them, we'll dwell on the Royals for a little bit and then move on to other things that were more inspiring and more exciting and more fun to say the least on the weekend. But hey, they're our local baseball team. It is a time for assessment. The Royals are not a one all-star team, although It looks like Whit Merrifield made the All-Star team on career achievement. Actually, by his own standards, he's really not having that great a year. His OPS is 726. He does lead the American League in stolen bases, which is one of the more least significant stats in modern baseball right now. But he has stolen 24 bases in a row since being caught in his first attempt, and that it certainly is worth noting. He's been out there every day, is approaching the Royals record for consecutive games played. He's almost at 300 now. And Alcides Escobar, who of course has gotten a little boost in his career by getting shipped over to the Washington Nationals and actually getting a little playing time, holds that particular record as well. Offensively, Sal Perez with a home run in the game on Saturday where the Royals got themselves a lead, but eventually were pummeled in the game. Creeped his OPS over 800, so the Royals, yes indeed, do have a player with an over 800 OPS, and that is Salvador Perez at 802, but they only have two other players who've played a lot, and 3 overall, who have an OPS over 700, and that includes Andrew Benintendi, of course, has missed a tremendously significant time. Carlos Santana and Merrifield have done their jobs. Michael A. Taylor, after a pretty good start, has really become what you expected of him. OPS in the mid 600s, and that's been going down and down and down, and actually hasn't played as well in the field probably as expected. He has made some nice plays, but has made some uncharacteristically not so nice plays. And the man below him right there in OPS on the chart I'm looking at right now is Ryan O'Hearn, and I would say that his 37 games and 116 at-bats 19 at-bats rather, is an indication of how bad things have gone, because there is no reason in the world that, be it the outfield, be it first base, that you anticipated or perhaps would like to have had Ryan O'Hearn hitting .218 and doing it in a significant amount of playing time and really becoming, of late, a regular player. And that's just not what you're looking for. And probably the two biggest storylines, and it's been talked about over and over, and they've shown a little bit of sign of life recently, yes, but Jorge Soler and Hunter Dozier aren't even at 600 in OPS, and anything below 600 is dreadful. It means you shouldn't be playing, basically. And so the misery goes on and on and on, and even some of the things that, maybe have been bright spots for a week or two, like Adalberto Mondesi, who, hey, that looks good. He's got a 1,200 OPS, but he's played 10 whole games. And when do we think we're going to see him again? I don't know. You guess. That's as good as mine. And over on the pitching side, there's not much to recommend. Even the guys who are going pretty well in the bullpen, and then with the bullpen production, like Jake Brentz and Scott Barlow, have been getting cuffed around of late. The Royals only have 2 starters who actually qualified for the ERA title by the amount of innings. That is Mike Minor and Brad Keller, and they're both substantially over, barely under 6 as far as ERA after Minor got clobbered the other day. He had been generally eating up innings and doing a decent job, but the last few starts haven't gone well for him. Brady Singer has the best ERA of the guys who've been run out there on a regular basis as a starter, but that's 4.5, and he really hasn't gone deep enough in games to, as I mentioned, even qualify for the ERA title. There's just not much to recommend. The Royals are still picking and choosing, and another player who had been pretty good in the bullpen was Kyle Zimmer, and then he got rocked again the other day, and all those guys, Brentz, Barlow, Zimmer, are showing signs of wear. Zimmer's never been somebody who's been able to keep himself healthy, and he's had to pitch a lot by his standards, and Brentz and Barlow are among the top 5 in appearances in the American League. And all of this, I didn't even mention that Mike Matheny. You don't think that Mike Matheny could pay the price, but when probably a pitching or hitting coach would go first, but when things are this bad, it's a time for assessment at the All-Star break. And, maybe they can just win a few games after the All-Star break before the Chiefs head to training camp it's never going to really inspire that much. And I was talking about this with Soren Petro and his program on Friday. The real danger right now the Royals are in, if they haven't already got there, is to return to the days when the Royals were a laughingstock. And I don't think they're there yet, but it started to get there, and conversation about the Royals is started to become not angry, but comic. And that is the worst thing that you can have to happen for a baseball club, and it's happening for the Kansas City Royals right now. Well, when the present stinks, you kind of look to the future. And in keeping with the way things are going here in 2021, even the MLB draft last night did not really provide the kind of maybe boost or excitement that you might want from the draft. The Royals had a high pick, number 7, but they went with a high school pitcher in Frank Mazzucato from East Catholic High School in Connecticut, a left-handed pitcher, generally thought of as a second-round talent, ranked anywhere from 39, 40, 41, 42 by various outlets, and it seems to be indeed a signability pick. Apparently the Royals didn't feel you could get the $5.3 million value that was put on that particular slot there. Kumar Rocker and a couple of high school shortstops were still there that were more considered to be in that particular wheelhouse, but the Royals decided to go for an upside high school pitcher and hope that blossoms into a star, and or that they can spend that money more wisely in what is now a truncated draft of only 20 rounds. You have a certain amount of money to spend. Say you save $3 million on Mazzucato here in this particular pick. Well, that just gives you that much money on down the road, but it doesn't create much of a sexy pick. And Kumar Rocker, with a great name and a great pedigree and all that stuff we've seen in the College World Series and all those type of things, would create more excitement, but the Royals go more meat and potatoes as far as that is concerned in picking the left-handed pitcher in high school who actually pitched 4 consecutive no-hitters, the kind of domination at a lower level in a state that's not a great baseball state that you would have to get in order for somebody to be considered even with a signability pick to be somebody you'd want to pick with the 7th pick in the draft, and that's just what the Royals do. So a little bit of I'd say more of a crack in the clouds than a ray of sunshine as far as the draft is concerned. But, of course, the Kansas City Royals aren't the only Major League Baseball team that plays, and so let's take a little bit of a pulse check of the baseball situation at the All-Star break. There are dominant teams in baseball this year. There are disappointing teams. There are 5 teams with 600 winning percentages. There are teams that are dominating their division. And there are, as I mentioned, a lot of disappointing teams in the American League. The Red Sox are a surprise leader. The Rays, as is their wont, are hanging in there just a game and a half out. Smiles for most of the people in baseball as the Yankees struggle, just 3 games over 500. White Sox kind of running away with the American League Central. Cleveland got a little boost from the Royals, of course, over the weekend to creep back above 500, but those are the only viable teams in the American League Central. Out west, the Astros get booed. They're going to refuse to go to the All-Star game, which seems kind of a cheesy move to me, and they say it's not because of the booing, but of course it is, and they have a decent lead over the Oakland Athletics, those teams, the viable ones in the AL West. And the National League is the home of the disappointing teams, although the Mets probably are about where many people thought they would be, and that's a handful of games over 500, and that is good enough for first place, as the Phillies, Braves, and Nationals, all teams that people probably had much higher expectations of, are just kicking around the 500 mark, and the Nationals even worse than that. In the Central, the Brewers are a surprising big leader. Cincinnati Reds are in the mix there. The Chicago Cubs once were, but have been in a disastrous slide. Out west, the most surprising team in baseball, the San Francisco Giants, baseball's best team, has a 2-game lead over the team that everybody thinks is baseball's best team, and probably is, the Los Angeles Dodgers, but the Giants refuse to go away. The Padres have had their injury issues and such, but still 13 games over 500. And, of course, there are several teams that are tanking on purpose and look a little bit worse even than the Royals, but the Royals aren't even supposed to be tanking. So why are we going back to that? I don't know. But anyway, one thing you just have to talk about in baseball in the first half is Shohei Ohtani. I don't even think he's getting probably his due as much attention as he's getting for the unbelievable things he's doing, pitching at a high level and hitting 33 home runs. He'll be on display at the Home Run Derby this evening, and that certainly will get him even more attention. But he plays out on the West Coast. Yes, is he kind of a rock star, but is he the kind of star that maybe the greatest first half performance in the history of baseball would warrant? Probably not. But anyway, he certainly has been a real sensation with an OPS almost at 1,100 and quality pitching as a starter as well. An amazing, amazing athlete, once in a lifetime, really, that we are seeing in the performance from Shohei Ohtani. Upcoming, we've got all kinds of news, notes, records, greats, really compelling competitions to talk about, a lot more upbeat, although for one particular group, English soccer fans, it's not a particularly sunshiny Sunday yesterday, but lots of really fun stuff to talk about coming up after we got the Royals over to the side. And now, maybe tonight, looks like maybe, perhaps, probably, as I mentioned, we'll get Sal Perez out there for the home run derby. We'll have to wait and see. But we'll have some fun coming up next as we continue on with Monday Musings, Danny Sports Wrap, right here on the Reasonably Irreverent podcast. And Mondays are presented by Dillon's Heating and Cooling.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
I'm here with Joe Spiker, owner of Easton Roofing, and boy, we had to negotiate a million things in 2020, but Easton Roofing navigated them all. As 2021 rolls out, what should we expect this coming storm season?
Well, Danny, it'll be the same thing as it is every year. The storms come, and you've got the guys out knocking on doors, offering quote-unquote free inspections. Be wary as a homeowner. If somebody's knocking on your door, they probably need the work, and if they need the work that bad, they may be willing to do something untoward to get it. So if somebody knocks on your door, says they want to give you a free inspection, just tell them have a great day and give us a call. We'll come out for free and give you a good, honest opinion as to whether or not you need to do anything at all with your roof.
And what's the best way to get in touch with Easton Roofing?
You can always find us online at eastonroofing.com or give us a call at 913-257-5426.
Easton Roofing. Integrity matters. Let's have a brief conversation with David Schmidt from Pro Millennial. David, what differentiates you from other financial organizations?
I would say the passion we have for seeing our clients succeed is probably paramount to what we do here. There's no joy greater than watching a client accumulate wealth. I had a client that I've had for many years was able to buy his dream warehouse. Nothing too extravagant, but we had a savings plan in place and was able to see him fulfill his dreams.
And what else motivates you in this industry?
Well, lately it's been finding out inconsistencies in the marketplace, ferreting out some more than questionable ideas out there, that what we're seeing with Bitcoin and a few of these other cryptocurrencies right now. I'm of the opinion where if it's untraceable, it really needs to be regulated in a big way right now.
To get more information and advice from David, visit promillennial.com or call 816-221-7775. That's 816-221-7775.
Hey everyone, this is Matt Llewellyn for the 23rd Street Brewery. Thank you so much for supporting local restaurants, especially through this pandemic. And you know what? We're almost through it. At the 23rd Street Brewery, we have brought in a few more tables. You can wear a mask if you want or not. It's your choice. Other than that, we're open 11:30 every single day. So come see us at the 23rd Street Brewery in Lawrence.
We're here once again with Dr. Brad Woodall from Advanced Sports and Family Chiropractic and Acupuncture. Springtime, good weather's finally here. People want to stay active, and it's your job to make sure that they can stay active, and be healthy.
Danny, we see a lot of not just weekend warriors, but people that every day are having that want to get back to activity. Whether you're starting with walking, jogging, or maybe that first 5K of the year, we want to help you out. We specialize in taking care of all ages, from kids all the way to grandmas and grandpas, but absolutely specialize in getting you back to full function and keeping you in great shape.
So in short, how do we go about doing that?
The first thing is to schedule a consultation with one of our doctors and therapists so we can see how you move and how you're supposed to move. Based on our assessment, we can put together a short treatment plan and a set of goals to help you both feel better, function better, and most importantly, stay better for this year and many years to come.
Learn more at asfca.com/Danny. That's asfca.com/Danny.
If you'd like to join these and other great sponsors and market your business to a growing and engaged audience, contact us at danny@dannyclinkscale.com. Look forward to hearing from you.
Welcome back, and for almost a month I've been wallowing in sort of soccer heaven, if you really enjoy high-level soccer at an international level with all kinds of partisanship and countries and national pride and things like that. And, of course, the South American version was going on as well with Copa America, which ended up being won by Lionel Messi and his team from Argentina. But because we get it in a more consumable aspect at a time of day when it's there's nothing really else on a lot of times. Euro 2020 has been fabulous entertainment right from the beginning outset, where the drama of Christian Eriksen almost losing his life on the soccer pitch started things off, and it all culminated in what looked like a coronation, and for a country that still has a monarchy, so that seems appropriate, as England was a favorite heading into yesterday's match against Italy, and they score a goal just 2 minutes into the proceedings as Luke Shaw scores on a beautiful goal, and that's where kind of the trouble began for me, as England, which had played very conservative soccer the entire time, but it had worked, and it looked like it may indeed work for a European title, their first international major trophy, since 1966 when they won the World Cup, and only their second overall, because Gareth Southgate and his squad decided to park the bus, and Italy basically had the ball for the rest of the game. And for about a half an hour of game time, it worked, but Italy would eventually square it up. The match would go to penalties, and then more problems and more second-guessing across the pond today and tomorrow and for weeks to come, as a couple of substitutes were put in, and in the end, the three penalty takers who missed for England, Marcus Rashford, Jadon Sancho, and Saka from Arsenal, were players who basically averaged about 20 years of age, and Saka was put in the unenviable position of being in the fifth spot. When he had to score, he didn't. It wasn't a very vigorous penalty. In fact, all three of the misses by the English players were pretty bad penalties, and heartbreak for England and hysteria for Italy as they win the championship. An unusual aspect of it was that the man who stopped the last play of Euro 2020, Donnarumma, their goalkeeper, was named the most valuable player of that tournament. That's the first time a keeper was ever named in that particular stead. And so there was excitement throughout. There are great stories. Denmark, after the loss of Christian Eriksen, made it all the way to the semifinals with a lot of emotion. There were teams that were slightly disappointing. It was just fabulous if you enjoy soccer in any way, shape, or form. Very enjoyable. And Italy, which could have had the most epic of days, we'll get to Wimbledon in a second, because they had a player in the final for the first ever time, gets what they probably wanted far and away the most in the soccer-crazed nation, which was a Euro 2020 championship in 2021, as they kept the name because of all the branding and everything else. And bitter, not even bittersweet, just bitter for England. And some bad things went on after it, some social media stuff against the players that is despicable, and a little bit of hooliganism as well, and that's never good, but it's the world we live in, and it's something that unfortunately you end up expecting. Right around here, there's a great competition going on, the Gold Cup, as the United States national team is participating. It's sort of a, nobody wants to call it a B team, but it kind of is, and the players who haven't been seeing much action for the national team are getting that particular action, and one of those is Gianluca Busio, and he was involved with the 1-0 victory over Haiti yesterday. Good crowd out at Children's Mercy Park. That competition goes on for just over a week and should be a lot of fun, and there are tickets that you can get, and it's high-level soccer, and you get to see the U.S. men's national team, and definitely some players who are going to be on the World Cup team. Cross your fingers if the United States indeed qualifies. Let's talk a little tennis. It's not like back in the day when I used to have a breakfast at Wimbledon party and have a little bit of champagne or mimosas and serve strawberries and cream. I actually did that for 4 or 5 years in a row back in the 80s. And because America has so few high-level tennis players, the Wimbledon just doesn't resonate like it used to in the United States. But certainly tennis has been dominated on the men's side by tremendous stars over this generation, as Rafael Nadal and Roger Federer and Novak Djokovic now all are tied at 20 Grand Slams apiece. On the women's side, actually, the number one player in the world, Ash Barty, won the championship, so she's maybe off and running for a great career with her second major. But Djokovic was trying to make history, and Matteo Berrettini was standing in his way, and that was supposed to not be a competitive match, and in the end it very much was, but Djokovic was able to win it. The crowd was into it for Berrettini, who won the first set, but Djokovic was just too tough, and now a very compelling case can be made that he is the greatest tennis player of all time. He has won his majors at a variety of surfaces. The only knock against Nadal is that he's won 13 times in the French Open out of his 20. Federer is right in there as well, but Djokovic probably has not even come close to stopping. He's a year younger than Nadal. He's 5 years younger than Federer, and he's got the 20. And also what he's got is 3 out of the 4 tournaments that make up the Grand Slam. And if he wins the U.S. Open, he becomes the first player since 1969 to win the Grand Slam. And he also has a chance, if he goes, and he says it's 50-50, if he goes and wins the gold medal at the Olympics, to win what's called the Golden Slam, and that's never been done. And maybe that will be enough inducement for him to head over to Japan and do that. The only other player who probably isn't being mentioned in this regard among the many, many great champions in the world of tennis is Rod Laver. Rod Laver only won 11 Grand Slam tournaments, but he did win the Grand Slam twice in a single season. That's the only player to ever do it, and because of the rules of the day, he had a 5-year period where he turned pro, and that meant in those days he couldn't play in any of the majors. So a 5-year span in his prime by a player who had 11 major championships, and you would imagine a player of that level who twice won all 4 of them, bracketing that particular era, easily could have won a couple a year in that stretch, and that would put him in the same conversation. And I think that because we are victims of the moment, that Rod Laver probably should get a little more consideration for the greatest player of all time. But Novak Djokovic is right there and certainly has an opportunity over the next 3 or 4 years to stamp himself as the greatest player in the game. Many of the greatest players in the NBA have been struck down by injury this year, and has created a dynamic where we have had 2 very unusual teams get into the NBA Finals. The Phoenix Suns, who have never won a championship and were up 2-0 heading into last night, and the Milwaukee Bucks, who have not won since Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was there. I can't remember whether he was Lou Alcindor when they won or not, but it was right around the time he changed his name. That's how long it's been, and they haven't had the NBA Finals in Milwaukee since 1974, and an enthusiastic crowd was inside and outside as Milwaukee got the victory that they needed, blowing it out at the end for a 20-point victory. Giannis with a 40-point, 15-rebound game in his second consecutive 40-point game. And that certainly gives us an NBA Finals that has a more compelling nature to it now. The games are fun to watch. There's no question about that. A lot of people, I mean, NBA is really kind of not divisive, but it falls in a couple of categories of people who could care less, and maybe now because the biggest stars in the game, except for Giannis, are not in this particular competition, are not even paying attention when they usually might to the NBA Finals. But a young team in Phoenix that might be a great team for years to come, and maybe the best player in the game, but maybe not the most touted in Giannis playing. And it's fascinating basketball to watch. It is. And now we've got ourselves a series as Giannis and the Milwaukee Bucks get the victory, and now it's 2-1 heading into Wednesday's 4th game, and that also in Milwaukee. One other neat basketball note that you probably didn't notice, I would think, is that over the weekend, Nigeria beat the United States men's national basketball team. Now, this is an outstanding team. Obviously, some of the players are playing in the NBA Finals, and some others are not opting to play for Team USA, but it's still a high-level NBA team with a lot of great stars on it. And Nigeria went out and beat the United States in a game with a bunch of sort of low-level NBA guys, some guys who've just been kicking around the G League or not even doing that. And it's one of the biggest upsets in international history. An African team had never beaten a United States team, and the United States had beaten the Nigeria by like 100 points the last 2 times that they played against them. So kind of a really cool thing for a nation like that, for Nigeria to pull that off. Obviously, it was not a qualification game. It was just an exhibition. It doesn't really matter. Actually, the United States is in action on Monday evening against Australia, trying to bounce back. And the real competition hasn't even started yet. And I'm sure the United States is going to be just fine. But for one day, the African nation of Nigeria can claim to be better than the United States in basketball. And that's kind of a cool thing. And because the United States is likely to win this competition, maybe, although it's gotten much, much more competitive over the years in international basketball. And you can see that by just looking at the NBA. I was looking at the NBA rebound leaders the other day, and like every one of them is like a foreign big man out of the top 5 NBA rebound leaders. So just a cool story for the nation of Nigeria to become the first African nation to beat the United States in a actual basketball competition. A good way to wrap things up here on Monday Musings, Danny Sports Wrap. It's brought to you by Dillon's Heating and Cooling. Through the course of the week, we're going to have our usual lot of fun, including on Wednesday. Looking forward to this. I have had already, actually, a conversation with Roger Bennett from Men in Blazers. He's written a new book, and he will be part of our Arts and Lifestyle Wednesday right here at the Reasonably Irreverent podcast. And we get our personality profiles and everything else that usually comes your way to create a lot of excitement and fun. And follow me at DannyKlingscale.com and the Reasonably Irreverent podcast at patreon.com/DannyKlingscale and all my social media outlets as well. And hey, feel free to reach out at Danny@DannyKlingscale.com anytime. We occasionally give prizes out and things like that, so stay in touch with me and have yourself a great week, and we'll continue to talk to you, well, kind of all the time.
We hope you enjoyed the latest Danny Klingscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Come back soon for something fresh and new. This podcast was made possible by our great sponsors like
Dillon's Heating and Cooling, treating you like family with expert and affordable HVAC services.